I've read this idea and I'm going to articulate it back to you.
Yeah, he just started yelling at me. He just started yelling at me as soon as I asked him what the article said. You can't ask me that.
What's interesting is in one breath you're saying that you can't use lasers to prove it, and then in the same article it says, well, actually, on the other hand, they used better lasers and then proved it was curved. Which is it? You guys can use lasers, but we can't. Or
he just started yelling.
It depends on your conclusion. If your conclusion is flat Earth, then you can't use lasers. If your conclusion is globe Earth without a defined, you can't mathematically define it. Just if you get a curve of some type, manner, shape, or form, then you can use lasers again. Because a laser has to curve. Duh.
Yeah, if you believe contrary to me, then you can't prove your position is true.
Yeah, if you're oh, sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
Isn't that how you know that he read it and he knows what he says because he didn't?
Now he's doing Hope Laughter in the text channel, saying that I'm running away somehow for asking him what his article said that he posted 5 times.
Right, you're running away asking him about what he's saying.
Here's my evidence. What's the evidence say? Oh, running away, are we?
Oh,
it's my friend. I'm in DMs with him. He's my friend in DMs.
Oh, wow.
I suppose running away from bigotry against what he is trying to argue. How about that?
We have a bromance. Hey, bro, come on, talk to me. This Jamesy. Come on, bro. Have like a bromance.
I read it too. You could tell I read it is because Russia would have told on me if I didn't read it.
Yeah, we're trying to run into your evidence. Put it in front of us so we can run into it.
We're dating, bro. It's the internet, bro. Come on.
And the discourse does not have to be like this, right? At least with someone like me, it does not have to become this.
I didn't realize I was
contentious, curing condescension battle, right? If we would stop being immediately derogated and immediately denigrated with the most intense condescension and arrogance, we could have a chill discourse, even if we don't agree with any of the points that we said. At least we cordially executed the discourse to the end, but they won't allow that.
No, Gregory, when you do things like you say, oh, next caller, try again, right? That's condescending. You're condescending to people.
Yeah, in response to the derogation, right? I'm resisting the derogation. I don't begin that way ever. There are multiple persons in here that can attest to me. I don't begin that way. I only match the condescension and hostility that is given to me.
Okay, I believe you.
Yeah, it was pretty reasonable. You've said you've got some evidence. We asked you what the evidence was, and you weren't able to tell us. Is that our fault?
Well, I think if I said, oh, can I have a source, please? And someone said, okay, here's the source. And then I said, well, instead of reading it, I want you to recite it, right? I think that would be, let's say, a bit strange.
I said my rebuttal to your argument is, I have a rebuttal to your argument, so I know it's wrong. It's in this article. And you said, okay, what does the article say? If I can't tell you, it means I don't know.
Okay, so I did say that in the article that they go through some of the examples of people using the red laser test, and they explain why there's problems with it, including the refraction issue, right? And then so I reference basically what's in the article, and you say, well, no, I want you to read it out loud. I mean, I can do that for you.
It's called a citation.
Yeah, and the thing you read out loud debunked your claim because it required multiple mediums and had a begging the question fallacy of the assumption of a globe to begin with. So is that all you're saying your article say?
That's not question begging. It's showing that there needs to be a control, right? You need to control your variables, because if it could be easily explained, like, oh, well, this atmospheric issue is going to cause lasers to, have the result that it does, then you're going to have to sit there and say, well, then it doesn't actually prove that the Earth is flat or not curved. It could just be easily explained away by just the refraction.
Because all we know is that the laser is hitting the target where there's supposed to be an obstruction due to curvature. You're saying, no, there is still curvature, but you're not giving us any reasons how this can be the case. How's the laser hitting the target?
Well, I said, like I said, there's 2 instances in the third article which talk about 2 instances of of physicists disproving two examples. It's hard to explain, right? I'm gonna get you the two examples and the actual primary source of people actually looking into it, right?
Right. So what's the distance they're shooting the laser? What distance are they shooting?
1 second. I need to get the article back up because we closed it again.
And how do you know they're not cherry picking?
Well, that's true. I'm curious because you said something about Flat Earth Discord, right? And
Yes.
and it is true that both of these instances might not even be the ones that you reference in the Flat Earth Discord. So I don't know which ones you actually reference at all. I would love to look at them though.
Well, you're just type in discord.gg/flatearth and you'll find the Discord server.
But
And then
if-
there's all additional information sections alphabetized, and under L you'll find laser tests, and
Yep.
there's dozens.
Cyclone, if I for instance do a bit of research on your experiments, right, and I find out that almost all of them have a similar issue.
Well,
with
you still haven't
controls,
told us what the issue is yet.
Well, refraction could be an issue.
Yeah,
for
but we've
instance.
been through your refraction
people-
thing. It
or
didn't
people-
hold up because it was not multiple mediums and it assumed the globe.
Well, and there's another issue, right? So if there's actually three issues, right? One, that they're
He's
doing
not
it
addressing
properly.
the multiple
They're doing
medium thing. I tried
Multiple-
to
sorry,
have
can you
you address
explain
it
the
earlier.
multiple
You said
medium
you would
thing?
address it. It's in the citation you posted.
They
In
use
the
different
first
color.
article you posted.
But when you just
These
say
different-
address the multiple medium thing, I don't know what you're saying. You have to
We
frame
already
it into a
sort of covered
sentence.
it, but you put it in the first link. It says it there. You read it out for us.
Yeah, but you have to frame it
Said
into
you
a
would address
sentence.
it.
I don't know. When you just say explain the multiple medium thing, I don't know what you're asking me.
Okay,
so is this
you
a
read it out when
concession that
Ray Upright
refraction
asked
isn't an
you.
issue?
So I'll explain it to you. One medium is air. What's the other medium?
For instance, glass
There you
or
go.
a solid
So,
object.
there you go.
But in
Why
this
is that an
case,
issue? Why do I have to
actually,
explain
what-
that? Well, that's
then
what I'm
You said
confused
for
by.
instance.
So not applicable to the
said
laser
two-
test then, which are just shooting through air.
Well, what
Yeah,
do you
but
shoot a
there-
laser through? What do you shoot a laser through? Do you have it for your?
Not
Air.
multiple mediums.
So the laser
Is it
tests
like how?
aren't
What
going into
instrument do
glass.
you use a laser with?
So they're not
Hot
going
air
into a
and
different
cold air.
medium.
It is the instrument.
It's just one medium.
Okay. Well,
Hot air and cold air.
there's
So
yes,
two
that could
mediums.
also be a part of it. But you got to remember that when you do this test over at the sea, it's a lot more problematic than, let's say, if you do it over a city or a desert, right?
It's only problematic because they're not measuring any curvature. Isn't it?
Well, someone invite me to the Flat Earth Discord, and I'll take a look at some of their.
Yeah,
their
someone
experiments.
send in the link.
W Cyclone.
Thank
It's in
you,
my
thank
bio. If you take a look at my
We're
bio, you'll see.
partnered up anyway, so you can post the links in here.
Another thing too is like where they use different colors lasers. They use the blue, green, and red. That's all to control for refraction. Each light will refract a little bit differently. So if you can get them all roughly in the same spot, that means you've got the least amount of refraction going on.
I'll give you roles in the Flutter Discord, bro. I trust you.
Well, where's the Flat Earth link? The Discord group? Somebody said that's
DM Jamsey, I'll send you one. Actually, I'll post it in the chat in this politics chat.
okay. Thank you.
Discord.gg/flat earth.
Also, by the way, whoever said my voice quivers, I resent that. By the way, my voice does not quiver.
Well, don't make it quiver anymore.
It's not quivering. What the hell?
Hey, bro, are you actually going into the search engine and writing debunking flat earth proof? Is that what you're searching for? Because it looks like the stuff that you're posting is kind of like the debunking side of things. Is that what you're looking for?
No, I don't look for that. What I do find it interesting, though, and I'm not going to rehash it because I got muted twice for doing it, but just how, because I think the Cyclone mentioned that, it's just a concept, like you posit concepts to explain phenomena, but a concept is only as useful as it has explanatory power. And if a concept contradicts another phenomena we see, then its explanatory powers, is
Well, we're
bumped,
not
right?
dealing with concepts here, my man. We're dealing with the actual physical thing. Like I gave you the example before of the wine in my backyard. It's not a concept. You can actually drink it and have the experience. You wanting a representation of the wine it's not really required even. We're not here to offer you that.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the idea
Well,
that
that's exactly what you're talking about.
So,
you're
for instance,
talking about concepts. We're talking about reality itself.
Yeah, concepts we use to posit explanations for reality. That's what
we can just go into reality itself and directly test it. So there's no need for a representation when you can have the real thing.
Well, it's just an explanation. It's not like it's anything that
they're very low value. I would say things in reality like measuring or testing experiments. Those are have way more value.
An atom
than
is a concept, right?
Well, I don't see how that's relevant to the conversation, but I'm just trying to say that things like explanations are very low value compared to, say, something like a measurement. If I claim I'm
we use measurements to support
then explaining
theories,
things
right?
about it don't really help. What would lock it in is the actual measurement of that.
The point is
becoming painful.
The point is that I was responding to what Cyclone said. I'm saying, like, okay, he mentioned that some of these representations are concepts, right? So I'd say, that's fine. If I say for you, for instance, okay, let's talk about two phenomena we see in the world, right? Look at them. We can observe seasons. We can observe time of day. But how can we reconcile those two issues together in some sort of wider sort of idea of how the world works? And if you can't even take two different phenomena and for them to relate to one another, then they're just useless, like, sort of responses. You have nothing you can't explain these things, right?
To you, though,
like,
you want an explanation. Well, we don't have to give you that. Just go into the field, like I said, and conduct tests, measurements.
So by that logic, you'd agree with us.
It's one thing to posit an explanation for a result that doesn't match your expectation, and it's another thing to actually demonstrate it. Sorry, I just wanted to get that in.
Yeah, so you'd agree that when we go out and try to measure the concept of curvature of a ball and we don't measure it, then that concept has very little value in reality.
But that experiment might not be useful, right, as well. But
it's the curvature that we're trying to elucidate not being present that shows that as a concept it has no real world value.
So, for instance, well, that experiment might be problematic. But when you look at other things, for instance, like if all evidence, let's say, like when we look up in the sky, or like when we do experiments here on Earth, right, and they all point in a similar direction, that could only be explained, and they could all be tied together by that explanation, right?
You have to be
then
more
I think
specific.
that has more explanatory power, even if you don't believe.
And that's
in
what we've
like
got. Everything
photographs.
points towards a flat surface and a motionless surface. That's what everything points towards.
Okay, can I ask you how would you account for not being able to see Polaris in the southern hemisphere, but being able to see not being able to see the Southern Cross in the northern hemisphere? Then
Just too far away from it.
If I was saying on a tall building in England, right?
If you're under a different part of the sky, hold on. If you're under a different part of the sky, you would see a different part of the sky.
Sorry, what was the reply?
If you're under a different part of the sky, you'll see a different part of the sky.
But if I was in a tall building, right, and I could see all of the sky around me, right, every direction I turn, right, every direction I turn, I can see sky, right?
You can see a bit of the sky.
Yeah. Cloudless night. I'm on a tall building. There's nothing blocking my view. I can turn a 360 degree.
But your eyes still have a limit, do they not?
Well, I could see skies in every single direction I turn, right? Stars in every direction I turn, right?
But you don't see all of the sky.
Do your eyes have a limit, or do they not have a limit?
Well, yeah, they're not perfect.
Okay, so you can't see all the sky then.
Right. The nature of your perspective is limited. You are simply unable to see everything.
So the response would be that when I'm in the northern hemisphere, like say in France or Morocco or somewhere like that, I just happen to be just out of reach. But if I go a few kilometers south of Morocco, suddenly my eyes are perfect. I can actually see both.
No, it's not that the quality of your vision is improving. It's that you're in a better position for your eyes to actually perceive the object. Why is it the habit of globalists to presume that you and your field of vision stretches forever? Why?
This is
so the idea is that we can only see the Southern Cross from the Southern Hemisphere.
That
No, it's not an idea. It's a fact that your
we just can never get a direct question, a direct answer to a question. I just asked a question.
Well, it's a silly question, right? That's the problem.
So is
No,
yours.
it's not a silly question. So you just arbitrarily handwave whatever questions you find trouble with,
Why do you
and
think
then
it's arbitrary?
intensify and maximize the derogation and condescension. So now I'm intensifying my hostility because I'm getting unnecessarily and unjustifiably disrespected for a valid question about your pattern of reasoning.
Okay, so I can see the Southern Cross.
We gotta address this. You're putting forward a position that no one holds. Okay, nothing would change. This topic doesn't mean seeing a different Earth. So if you don't see the Southern Cross from where you are now, that wouldn't change ever. So you're the only one saying that you would see it. That's not our position. So please drop the straw man, please.
No, I agree that you're not saying that, but what?
Okay, well then stop trying. Your
the
question is
curiosity.
essentially silly. Then, if you're asking, well, how come I can't see all the stars at once? Why would you? You're the only one saying that you should. We're saying that if you learn tonight that the Earth isn't what you were told, it wouldn't change. It's the same Earth as you've always experienced, where you don't see all the stars. So that wouldn't change. So you shouldn't be here asking us, well, how come I can't see all of them? Well, why would you?
So I'll explain why you should be able to at least see.
Oh, you
most
shouldn't.
stars.
No, you shouldn't.
I'll explain
that
why.
arbitrary,
No,
unspecific quantity. Right?
It's a straw man.
That arbitrary, unspecific quantity. That's supposed to be a sufficient argument.
It's just it boils down to a straw man, Brett. This is what the articles will say. Well, if it was different, we'd see all the stars, we'd see to China, we see the. That's just a complete straw man. No one here holds that position. You're the only one positing that would happen.
I'm not saying what you're saying. I'm saying what I expect to see, right? Not what you're saying.
Your expectation
right,
is a straw
that
man.
arbitrary, non-specific quantity.
If I could get my argument out, you'd know.
No,
what
you
I was
don't
gonna
have
say.
to. It's just a.
It's already dead on arrival, my guy. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Tell me what my argument is. Tell me what my.
We already told you. Again,
we should see this unspecified, vague quantity, right? That's not a specific objective premise. That's a insufficiently specific, vague premise that you're trying to assert in contradistinction to our position.
Correct. When we both go outside, Brett, you and I, even though we have different conclusions, we both experience and we're pointing at the same Earth. What you're doing is saying, well, if you're right, then it would be different. No, it's the same Earth. So if you're not seeing the Southern Cross from where you are now, that wouldn't change. So you shouldn't be positing that, oh no, your position should be that it would change. It's just a straw man. Dead on arrival.
Okay.
Like
I'm not. A straw man would be if I was assuming your argument, which I'm not. Right.
That's what you are doing.
I'll tell you what my argument is. Right. When you're in the Southern Hemisphere, for instance, so you're about in Mauritania.
Hemisphere.
You're just going to steam that. You're just going to.
Let's say the Southern.
So if globe in hemisphere, explain.
No, I'm not.
Flat
Let me make
Earth
the
is globe.
argument, Chris. Let me make the argument. So if you're in Mauritania or south of that, south of what we might consider the equator to be, you'll see all the way
Imaginary
from
line.
the equator all the way down to the very southern tip of Argentina, for instance, you'll still see the Southern Cross. But if you go a few kilometers, so the distance between me going to Morocco and Mauritania is not that far, but the distance from me going from Mauritania to the southern tip of Argentina is very far, right? So why is that short distance? Like, it wouldn't make any sense to say that short distance is all the difference, right? Do you understand?
Why would the reality change? Why would it shift and morph into something else?
Well, hold on. Let's just double check that we're not just being sold a story here. What observations are you referring to specifically? Could you post them in the chat?
Being able to see the Southern Cross from the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, okay. Could you post the observations with the GPS coordinates and the dates and the times and all that kind of stuff?
Well, this is where your
okay.
Google
Let me appeal to observation, right? If anyone in here is in the Southern Hemisphere, have you seen the Southern Cross?
Examples.
Has anyone seen the Southern Cross in the Northern Hemisphere?
Well, hold on. Before you move on, could you show us Could you show us the observations that you just referenced?
Yes, I'm alluding to it right now. Has anyone in the Northern Hemisphere ever seen the Southern Cross, or has anyone in the Southern Hemisphere seen the Polaris?
Do you think this website Earth Sky, are they in on the conspiracy? Because if Globetard
Okay, I'm gonna reclude myself from the debate because this guy's just gonna ruin it. So I'll be right back.
Did you send the observation that you just claimed?
No, he couldn't. He just was trying to appeal for other people.
I'll do that.
Don't worry, Brett. We've already addressed this, brother.
Wait, he's trying to. What do you mean? What's going on here?
So right here, look at this. Is Earth Sky would have to be in on the global or the flat Earth conspiracy, because if Globetard, they told you the Southern Cross would not be viewable. He just said so. Past the equator, north of the equator. Right here, Earth Sky says you can see the Southern Cross all the way to Florida in Texas. 26 degrees north.
26 degrees, exactly. It's not representative of the southern celestial pole, quote unquote. It is not. It's not. That's a misconception.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because his Globetard wasn't exactly either A, it's not the globe the experts are presenting, or B, he doesn't really know what he's talking about. So then he had to try to strawman flat Earth into somehow like, hey, the stars work this way, if Globetard. And they don't.
See, even then, I mean, it's just, you can just ask them, okay, well, what observations are you talking about? They don't have any. Even if that were to be true.
They treat this like a pawn shop, and they try to bring these unvaluable ideas and try to sell them to us. It's like, well, that's not our position. You're saying that it would be a different Earth. That's no one's position but your own.
It's their side.
Contrive this position about the flat Earth, which the flat Earther never told you. Stop.
Right. Yeah.
It's weird.
It's like really
CB not having the soundboard, by the way.
I know.
It's really weird too, because on their model they've got the guy, the rumpus who says, if Globetard, you could see the back of your head if Globetard. And then the Globetard will tell you, how come I can't see the back of my head on the flat Earth? Like, dude, that's if Globetard, you see the back of your head, not if flat Earth.
I never had that habit. I just never had this habit where I just instinctually it's almost like an involuntary intuition of the globalist to just like unself-consciously presume that the field of your vision just stretches as far as the cosmos. Why? Like we've all like we look up at the sky and the plane takes off the ground and it's just going straight ahead, right? It disappears if it goes far enough away. There's nothing between us and the plane except the air, especially on like a clear day, right? There's no solid non-transparent object between me and the plane, but the plane flies away from me far enough and it vanishes. My God.
It's like, this is the best part too. It's like you tell them, hey, we're talking about the surface of the Earth. And they're like, certainly, let's talk about everything other than the surface of the Earth as a proof of the surface of the Earth. Look at that black hole. Look at the moon. Look at the sun. Look at the Southern Cross. Look at everything in the sky. Pay no attention to planetariums, mind you, but keep looking at the sky. And then anytime you look at the Earth, the flat Earth, and describe it as flat, suddenly that is a straw man. That's a red herring. Wow, dude.
Maybe not all of us, but some of us have seen footage of a very powerful and strong baseball batter hit the ball and it flies up, and away. And we see it appearing smaller as it goes further away to the point that we cannot see it any longer.
May I say something?
Does
Real quick.
get smaller?
Oh, go ahead. Say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a high school experiment where you attach a GoPro to a fucking weather balloon. And then you have a GPS tracking on the GoPro and you launch the GoPro out and you can see the curvature of the Earth before the weather balloon explodes and the GoPro falls to the ground.
Well, that's fine. And also, if that's true, then we should be able to go to the ground, measure it, and see if it matches what the GoPro shows. But unfortunately, when you do that, it doesn't match. So you can discard the GoPro footage. You can go test the Earth itself.
I mean, it's
Hold on.
physical footage of a device that
Yeah, well, then you should be able to go.
Hold on. AI is trying to say something replying to what you said earlier. You can just keep spewing. Go ahead, AI.
Jesus.
I just wanted to ask if I'm clear.
Wow.
Okay,
From what?
fine, dude.
By the way, Creation Bear, when you say things,
mic, bro.
Creation Bear, when you say things
Yeah.
like it's a
Hey, brother, the floor being yielded to someone that wasn't your cue to speak, right? It's one thing when you're just generally interrupting, but if somebody says specifically, this is the person that's going to be allowed to speak, and that's not your name, that's usually the cue to not be the next person to speak. Okay, now that that's said, I just wanted to ask the other dude if I want to be clear on what he said. So, sending up a camera that's notorious for having a fisheye curved lens and producing curved images is somehow proving a curved globe. I don't understand. So maybe he can clarify.
I mean, no. A regular GoPro does not have a fisheye lens. And the thing is I'm a little bit interested in photography. So I know the difference between what a lens is. I know what an f-stop is. I know a lot about photography. No. Sending up a regular GoPro, the same one that I take down when I go scuba diving. No. No, there's no the fisheye lens argument is absolutely incorrect. There's no fisheye lens on a regular GoPro.
But
And
they are wide.
you agree that there are such things as weather balloons, right?
They are wide, are they not? A GoPro's no wide angle, like wider than normal.
Not all GoPros, depending on which one you have.
Which one do you have?
So, which GoPro is not wide?
They're wide lens, but they're not fisheye lenses. Those are
Don't let him. Don't let him. Don't let him escape Radwin's question. Which one do you have?
I think I had a GoPro 5 when I actually did the experiment.
That one has a nice fisheye lens in it. I have one.
No, the one that I had does not have a fisheye lens. I know what a fisheye lens is, and I know how it changes, like the viewpoint.
I have that GoPro in my hand right now.
No,
it
it
has
was
that
a
lens in it.
regular. It was a regular camera.
Hold on, could we have this guy read what
If the
what crisis
conversation
support
lies
says?
on the fact that every camera has some sort of like deception, and that's why you can argue flat Earth, then I can't beat that argument. I mean, it's honestly, I would say it's only.
Could you just read the text that was posted in the chat? Can you read that out?
I'm reading it.
The
Okay.
image.
In the interest of researching the middle ground, can we agree that when you said
No. The image. Let me just post it again, guys. Slow down on the chat. I'm just doing post it in this one.
the
Here.
balloon flight to stratosphere? Okay, let me see.
No. The image just posted, the latest one by Cyclone.
Yeah, a weather balloon flight. Yeah, you can see that it's not.
No. In the text channel, the last
The
image I just
screenshot
posted.
that begins with "Does GoPro have fisheye lens?"
That's a GoPro Hero 3. Yeah, I think I
Can you read the
had
text?
but like I returned it because like I'm not gonna lie, I'm a piece of shit.
You lied
He's
about
getting his
even
cereal
having
on
it
right
in
now.
the first place.
So the bit that's highlighted says the GoPro comes with the so-called fisheye lens.
Oh, dude.
No, let's
Whoa.
see, but no, you see he has it on a pole, and yes, he has a specific lens, and he puts it in
Well,
a
it says the
specific
GoPro.
function.
It says the GoPro
No.
comes with the fisheye
Yes,
lens.
no, yeah, because GoPros are
No?
pretty
Yeah?
expensive. They
Well, you
have
said it
they
didn't
have
come with
a lot
one.
of different settings on them. So what he has is he has a pole, and he's turned on the fisheye lens to give that world view.
Turned on the fisheye lens, but the GoPro, that's
Yes,
what it has, the
you
fisheye
can
lens.
change your settings. No, you can change your settings on your camera, of course.
Okay. So the
Yeah,
GoPro
did you not know
comes
that?
with the so-called fisheye lens, which you just said it
No, it
doesn't have a
doesn't.
fisheye lens.
You can attach a specific fisheye lens to a GoPro, but otherwise you can change the video settings of your GoPro while you're recording. And when you do it like that on a pole, it makes it look weird.
Mm-hmm. So it curves
Yeah,
everything.
it's different than like putting a like for instance the ones that when I go scuba diving, I have
And
the
they call
strap
bullshit on scuba
on my
diving.
helmet.
Yeah. So if we put that up on a balloon, like you said, then we would see a curve.
If you set it to the specifications to like distort the image, yes.
Well, we see at ground level that it's showing a curve there. So obviously, if we put it up on a balloon, it will show a curve. So that's not really
Well,
good proof, is it?
You don't understand. You obviously don't understand how photography works with like having a pole and having a GoPro.
No, I'm
on
not
top.
talking about having a pole. I'm talking about you saying put it up on a balloon, but you're gonna have distortion
Yeah.
there, so it's not a very good proof, is it?
No, all you do is you turn on a
Holy crap,
regular
brother.
GoPro, you strap it to a string, and you inflate the balloon with helium.
Okay,
Right,
great. So then once we finish that, then we can go into the field and then see if it matches what the GoPro shows, right? We don't just go off of pictures and videos, just stop there, right? Because then if we're the Bigfoot community, we got that, video and pictures. No, you have to go out and make sure that's validated. Let's go ahead, AI.
I don't want to harp on this point, but I'm just very confused how a poll changes anything about the camera.
Right. That non sequitur premise.
So if you put a camera on a pole, it distorts the image in a different way than if you put it on a string. I don't get it.
No, the thing is the person that has the camera on a pole has a specific lens that makes it look
Right.
that
Yes, absolutely. Sure. So it has nothing to do with the pole.
No.
All right.
The oh my gosh.
You don't change the lenses.
I'm gonna
You don't
get
change-
muted again, but like
Yeah, you
holy
don't change the lenses on the GoPro.
No, it's fine, dude. Just for the love of God, say these words in any form you wish. The pole doesn't affect the image.
No, if the pole does not affect image, the pole affects
All
how
right.
the length. So like have you not seen those videos of people skiing and doing all that crazy shit with the
Yeah,
poles
yeah, absolutely, brother. I
the whole
understand.
world? So like no, lenses can obviously distort pictures.
That's a different effect setting on the GoPro. That's not the standard. You have to go super wide angle, and that is not normal. That's the ones you see in the balloon lifting off where the ground is all twisted. That's a super wide angle on the GoPro.
All right, so if we can't just go off the lens, then what you can go off of is maybe going into the field, my boy. So, pay attention. Did he leave? He left. I think he was off his helio though right now.
Berther did leave. These dumb black glow birthers need to be.
Oh, bro. Holy, dude.
Is that King? Was that King?
How did you identify him? I guess you heard him before.
Yeah, we've been talking to King on and on. He's one of the first guys who came into the room when we set it
Just
up.
made my heart skip. How do you identify him so quickly?
Yeah, dude, King, man, it's like which King are you? Nice King or bad King? You know, it's like come
Know who
on.
that was. Had to look at the screen.
Yeah. It's like one day he'll be like really kind of open and want to talk about flat Earth. The next day he's like, flat Earth is the worst thing ever. You know, like burn them alive. You're like the Mad King from like whatever that sword that with all the different swords and stuff and the dragons. You know, like burn them.
Yep. Let me ask you this question, friends. How many axes does a photograph have?
It's a good question. I don't know. Let me look.
What did I spell that right?
What, like X, Y, and Z?
How many?
3?
Nope.
I see
2?
5.
2. The correct answer is 2. Now, how many axes does reality have?
3.
3. So that means that an image must, of a necessity, display 3 axes with only 2 axes. So that means that at least 2 of the axes can only be displayed as 1 axis. So that means you have combined information. So how can you tell if a curve is vertical or horizontal since they're both on the same axes?
Yep.
Yeah, reality
No,
has all of the axes. All of them. That's the answer.
Point is,
Now-
it's not as simple as just saying, I see curved image, therefore curved object. It's just simply not that simple.
So why is it simple enough to say I see flat, therefore flat?
It's not what we're saying.
Kind of sounds
Because,
like
because
there's
even
a difference between a flat object and the curvature of a circle, the edge, or the curvature of a surface.
It's the opposite. It's like saying where if flat equals flat, flat can't also be not flat. It's a law of non-contradiction.
It's just a geometric logical fact as it concerns curvature. The curvature could be the edge of the circle or the surface of the sphere. That's not the same with flatness. Flatness is flatness. The edge is flat or the surface is flat.
The fuck was that?
Yes, because I just want to throw this out there just for your guys' consumption to think on. Right? So you guys may not be in the argumentative community of flat earth versus globe earth in the sense that you're any kind of pro or expert or veteran, right? But there are people who are that are globe proponents, right, who have big channels, who have recently come out as one of their arguments saying this, that if the earth was flat, the horizon would be curved at altitudes. So whether it's a globe or flat, you would see what appears to be a subtly curved horizon, and it would look flat on a local level when you're low to the ground. So that's problematic because if both worldviews result in the exact same visual phenomenon when it comes to curvature impressions, right, that you receive and think, okay, that looks curved to me, let's say. If both result in the same thing, then how are you going to arbitrate between the two? Because that's the real key here. We're talking about how do you arbitrate between these two propositions about the interpretation of the phenomenal world. And I would submit to you that the most accurate way to do so would be with some type of direct measurement methodology, since optics seems to be in contention.
I would argue that it's probably better to do it through deduction.
What? Yeah, how? Think about it. Through deduction, you need proved premises.
Wait, induction? What's the one where you like do experiments?
Induction.
That's the one.
What? Induction is probabilistic. You can't reach certain conclusions. So that wouldn't be the best way. The best way would be one that reaches certain conclusions. So what you need is deductive logic with necessary logical form where the conclusion must follow from the premises if the premises are true. And then you need proved premises in the first instance to input into your logic string. Once you do so, you arrive at a necessary conclusion that must be the case. So for example, let's just put this out there, just for sake of argument. Let's just say, if, and that's proposition, no one has to take it personal. If the Earth measures flat, it can't be a globe, right? I think that's pretty agreeable. Now, keep in mind that's an if. You can agree with that statement without saying that. Otherwise, it's if it's flat, right? I mean, that's a tautology. If it's flat, it's flat.
You mean like if the whole of the Earth measures flat?
Well, it's not about the whole thing. It's about the surface can only be doing one of two things, if you let me explain. In the same way that if you wanted to measure for curvature on the hood of your car, you don't have to measure the whole hood. You're just looking for deviation. So if there's any deviation, then it can't be flat, period. So there's no requirement to measure the whole thing. And just to be fair, on your side, just to be fair in your worldview, it's not that they measured the whole thing. They're claiming they had two cities like 500 miles apart, and they used sticks and shadows to measure the whole thing. So, let's not have double standards here, please.
So as it concerns math, including geometry.
No, my main concern is
that's a
measure.
language. That's a language. So you need logic in order to utilize language.
If AI is still here, that we let AI continue it and see where it goes.
Yeah, he was asking if I agreed with his premise.
Yep. You're still here, AI?
Oh yeah. So your contention was, well, what's the sample size? Is it sufficient?
That was my first contention, but that car the hood thing, that's fine. My other contention might be with measures.
Okay, well,
I didn't catch that.
Like
What?
the accuracy of it.
Yeah, the
or what?
methodology.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you need a sufficient methodology and a sufficient sample size necessary to the task.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Taking into account certain fundamental principles that you could use to extrapolate over a greater distance. Like, for example, if you could measure the surface of water, right, to be flat and level, then according to the nature of the physics of water, that would prove that it's all flat and level, pretty much. Otherwise, you live on wibbly wobbly Earth, which would still disprove a globe either way.
Yeah. Yes. Was that it?
Sorry. Well, I mean, do you have a clarifying question, or I mean?
No, I mean, I agree, but again, I don't know that there's an experiment you could do that'll give you that result, that perfect certainty.
Not a matter of experimentation; it's a matter of observation.
Well, no, observation is exactly why we have experimentation, because sometimes observations aren't definitive.
Did they do this for the globe?
It's not a matter of experimentation. You're not trying to ascertain what is the cause of an effect.
Okay.
You're trying to ascertain what is the geometric property of the given concrete particular.
Sure. What I'm saying is, I can't conceive of a way that you could perfectly test the flatness of the thing you're measuring the Earth against.
So we don't know that anything is flat.
You know, some things are flat.
So then there is a way, and you can conceive of a way to detect flatness.
Well, the things that we know are flat are usually very small compared to the Earth. That's where we get into trouble.
Oh, before you make that comparison, you would need
said,
measurements of the Earth, my friend. So you can't be so quick to make that comparison to the quote size of the Earth if it's not been measured. So that's our whole point: is there are no measurements of that.
Okay.
You don't have any
Whatever the
sense of
shape
what
the
is
Earth,
more
we
or
can
less
say it's
likely
very,
to know.
very large in comparison to the things we know are flat.
You don't have any sense of what is more or less likely to know when you don't even know the facts about the Earth in the first place. You have to know the facts about the Earth in the first place in order to make the comparison of what is more or less likely for us humans to be privy to ascertain.
We know enough to know that it's very large compared to the things that we know are flat.
Okay, very large is vague and not mathematically specific.
It doesn't have to be specific for the statement that I just said to be true.
So then your premise is insufficiently specific and therefore your argument fails.
This is what I'm talking about. The level of specificity that you're looking for, of precision, is impossible. You're setting
So then you
impossible
can't know your position to be true then.
I can.
No, given your premise, you couldn't know it to be true.
Wait, sorry, know what to be true?
You keep saying that you can't know the specific facts about the Earth. So if you can't get sufficient specificity, then you can't know that your position is true.
We can know some facts about the Earth.
Okay, you keep defying the critique, but I just refuted your position by your own premises.
I don't think you did. Say that again?
Right, you just told us you cannot get this specificity. So if you can't get this specificity, you don't have sufficient specificity of the premises to prove that the Earth is what you believe it to be.
We don't have sufficient specificity of that flatness. It's one single
Wait,
quality.
but here's the thing, though. It's a true dichotomy. I'll challenge you to do this. Take 30 seconds wherever you are, and just look around you at all the surfaces. I've got a couple. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Okay.
I just want to help you understand that there is a dichotomy for how surfaces can be. Okay, so
Yeah,
if
no,
you
I
if
agree
you
to that.
okay, well, just go work with me here, right? So if you look around you, you'll notice that the surfaces only have two options. You've got surfaces that are rounded, like say my mouse here or my cup here next to me. They have surfaces that are curved. The contrary is you have the surfaces that are not curved or AKA flat. So in terms of the surface of the Earth, it can only be doing one of those two things. So perfectness or specific, you need to be perfectly accurate. Well, like I said with the hood, if there's any deviation, then it can't be flat. Period. So I think it's important to understand that there is a dichotomy here. The surface can only be doing one of those two things.
Well, kind of. I mean, if you're gonna get into the weeds on this, any
It's not the
deviation would be like a
weeds.
mountain.
You're
It's not
overcomplicating
a
something that is
no.
not that complicated.
I was talking about a specific experiment of physically measuring the
Not an
drop.
experiment.
What was proposed?
Let me give you another example. Okay, so like mountains, for example, that's not really curvature. So say like if you take like the floor, if you take a floor, and then you've got like a lion rug, a zebra rug, a bumpy rug, and you put those all down on the floor. Well, that doesn't make the floor curved, does it? It's just topography. So the mountain would be. No, hold on. Yes, yes, it is. It's still the floor is still flat. It's not you putting the rug down doesn't change the surface of the floor, does it? That's just topography on top of the floor, right? So the mountain is the same thing. Bumpiness doesn't equate to curvature. It doesn't make the floor curved. Do you follow or do you agree?
Kind of, but if you're measuring the floor, then the
Let's
carpet
just
doesn't
double
matter.
check then.
Hold on. Just before you go into this further, could I just quickly check? If you're asking about you can't conceive of how people are doing line of sight distance tests, if you join the server 24/7 Flat Earth Discord, we have all these channels at the bottom, all alphabetized. And if you look under L, you'll see laser tests and long distance observations. And there's hundreds of different tests that people are doing. So if you want to get an idea of how this curvature is being tested, you can look in those channels.
Right.
Yeah.
So the specific thing being proposed was to have some sort of a straight edge against which you could measure the fall off of the curve of the Earth. And I can't conceive of how you can make a straight edge that long.
Well, even like the article that someone posted earlier references let me just pull this up here. They're saying that they've got a test with lasers using a 4-kilometer long vacuum tube with laser beams running through them. So they've got some sort of straight edge, wouldn't you say? Or you disagree? Mm-hmm. This is the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observer, LIGO, also known as LIGO. So, I mean, are you saying that you can't have a straight edge, or what is your position exactly?
I think once you get long enough, it becomes extraordinarily difficult to not prove, what's the word? Prove, I guess, the straightness of the object.
That isn't the point. That isn't the premise that we're trying to defend. We're not
If you're
trying to prove that the Earth is absolutely ideally flat. There is no concrete particular
the Earth is flat.
that is like that.
No.
There is no concrete particular. No, not
not what I
interrupt
said.
this. No, not interrupt this. Right?
You're
It's
not
a
talking to
basic geometric dichotomy. And so the flatness of the topographical plane of the surface of the Earth is not absolutely flat with absolutely no undulations.
I didn't say
It
it
is
was.
generally topographically a plane, a level plane. That's the point.
That's fine. What I
So if
said
you
was,
don't detect curvature, right? So if you don't detect curvature, that means you're only detecting a level plane. Therefore, you have strongly indicated, given that there is no curvature of the topographical surface of the Earth, and we empirically detect it to be a level plane, it is therefore, as we empirically detect it, to be a level plane.
strongly indicated is not a problem. I have no problem with strongly indicated. What was being proposed was not indicating, it was physically measuring against a straight edge. And what I was saying is that the straight edge
That is an
against
instance of
which,
indication.
The straight edge against which you're trying to physically measure the curve or not curve, whatever the case may be, I don't know how you could prove flatness of that straight edge that you're using to measure straight or not straight.
A level tool.
A level
Either
tool, if
the
it's too
surface
long.
is level with the level tool or it's not.
I'm talking about the tool itself. How do we know
Are you saying this couldn't be
over
done
10
for
miles,
curvature?
over 10 miles that that tool is actually straight and that's not curving along the curve of the earth?
Well, what if you can see that far? What if you can see
Your
one guy
incredulity
on the
is
other
no
side of the
refutation anything.
I'm not talking about
What if you
incredulity.
can?
Okay,
That's
how
what you
would
just expressed. You don't know. You're not
Well,
certain
sure,
and you don't
fine.
know.
Okay,
That's just your incredulity.
that's fine. That's absolutely fine. If there's a way
That's
to
all
do
it
it,
is. That's
great.
the end of the matter.
Well, what
That
if
is
I
not
can
the-
see you? What if I can see you on the other side of a 10-mile lake?
That doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Well, it means that I've got line of sight to you.
Line of sight. So the only thing we ever see is light coming off of objects, right? And if that light can bend in some way, it could go
Oh?
around curves.
Wait, so why are you saying the light could be bending around a curve? Where's the curve that we're talking about?
Sorry. Then the light could curve. And if there is a curve, it could potentially bend around that curve.
But
and
why
give
would
us
you
an
jump to that
illusion.
assumption?
I'm not,
What evidence
you
is
don't
there for
need
that
to
assumption?
assume. I'm saying without assuming, we can't rule that out as an experimental deduction, induction, whatever the fuck.
But how would you? Well, you'd have to prove
You don't
it.
have
It's
a
not about ruling
point.
it
What is
out.
your point
You'd have
right
to-
now?
No. Wait, you'd
My
have to
point is that
prove
the
that.
experiment doesn't actually demonstrate that there is no curve if light can curve.
Hold on. If I can see you on the other side of a 10-mile lake, it would be on you to prove that that person isn't really there. I don't have to prove you wrong if you say that guy's a mirage. That's on you to prove.
Yes.
Yeah?
But
How would you
if
prove
somebody
that?
if somebody calls into question the methodology, then you have to prove that the
So-
methodology was sound.
Okay, but how would you prove that the person I'm seeing is a mirage?
Are you
How
dumb? Do
would
you
you
not know what a
prove
mirage
it?
is, dude?
But how would you prove that I'm not just seeing you because I'm seeing you?
You don't see me. We're in VC though.
Very funny.
So
the guy on the other side of a
ways to
10-mile lake.
demonstrate it, for example, is if there's other
Oh, like you're
elements of
talking
the
about
image
when you
that
see
are
people
distorted.
IRL? Or are you talking about my Discord? Like,
Who's gonna yield?
This guy, someone mute him if he's not going to shut up.
what did I
already
do?
sent him down.
You're
He
interrupting
jumped in
a
the middle of a
conversation.
convo. Yeah, this isn't your standard bullshit chat. We're actually having some constructive conversation here. Destructive for
Listen,
the
I'm
globe.
literally trying to strike in conversation
So,
though.
if we're
Yeah,
seeing
but
the
there's
guy on
one
the
already
10
having
other,
one.
yeah, we're seeing
End
the
the
guy on the other side of a
conversation
10
too.
mile lake. Bro, shut up. So we're seeing a guy on the other side of a 10-mile lake.
Are you dumb?
So I'm saying, okay, I can see a guy on the other side of a 10-mile lake. Now you're saying he might not be actually, he might be below a curve.
Like dudes.
So what would the evidence for that be?
Well, some evidence, for example, might be other elements of that image that are distorted.
Damn, he got you there.
I'm just seeing the guy. I'm not seeing any distortion.
But is he just floating in space, or is there?
No, I can just see his figure.
What's going on, guys?
About a big ass.
And the rest of the image is not distorted?
Yeah.
I mean,
You can zoom in and see the guy.
Yeah, well, you could pose arguments either way and see which one in the end comes out more reasonable.
But you'd agree on paper that would support not the globe Earth, but a flat Earth, because we're not seeing an obstruction. We're seeing the guy.
Assuming that 10 miles is too far for you to actually see the person by the math, yeah.
Yeah. You can check that. If you go into Google and you type in curve calculator, you can type in 10 miles.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it will show you what the hidden height should be. It should be about 50 feet below a curved surface. So this is what people are doing. And like I said, if you join the server, 24/7 Flat Earth Discord, you can scroll down and see rooms full of these tests being done by all kinds of people all across the Earth.
And they
you
see
can do it
people,
yourself.
or they're
Yeah,
shooting
they see
lasers and
people,
hitting
they
a
shoot
target?
lasers, they hit targets, all kinds of things. So you can go and have a look at those, and you can do it where you live, because we're not saying to just believe us. We're saying go and understand the globe math and test it in reality, because what we're finding is that it doesn't match.
Well, so for example, like that example that I brought up earlier about the various shadows indicating multiple light sources. I mean, that to me seems pretty definitive.
I don't know.
Not really.
In measuring and observing no curvature over distances where they say there should be curvature, that's pretty definitive.
I mean,
because that's the direct
as a standalone
measurement
thing,
of the thing
yeah.
in question. Yeah, but that's
It's
the
pretty questionable.
fundamental thing. It's the
Well,
fundamental
no, it's
thing
not the
because
fundamental
everything
thing.
else, it says, because every other argument, the satellites, the gravity, NASA, all assumes that curvature, which isn't
No,
there.
it doesn't.
Yes, it
So,
does.
for example, NASA and like there's an ISS video where
you assume that the
No, no,
ball,
no.
Earth is a ball with a radius of 3959. Yes.
No, I'm talking about inside the ISS, people floating around.
Requires an assumption of a ball with a radius of 3959 miles. Yes.
No,
The assumption. Yes, it does.
So in order
If
to
you're talking about the
disprove-
ISS,
in order to disprove that, it requires an assumption that it's fake.
No,
Never seen it demonstrated
that's
that
not
it's
how it
fake.
works. It's called a burden of proof reversal fallacy. The claim is that this is happening. Look, you see them floating. That's your claim that you would have to prove, right? If you say unicorns exist, I don't have to disprove you. It's your claim to prove.
Okay, I say there's people floating out in space, and I
Yeah,
ask
that's
for
the
someone to
claim of
prove it.
unicorns being existing.
And I
Yeah.
ask for someone to prove it. And I
It's on
sorry,
you.
still talking. And I ask for someone to prove it, and they send me video footage of someone floating around in space.
How do you
And
verify
thus
it?
far, I have no reason to doubt it. Now
Can you
someone comes
verify
along
it?
and says, this is actually a hoax. It's actually faked.
So by that line of
verify
logic,
it?
Narnia exists. By that line of logic, Narnia exists. So does
All right,
Middle
do I have
Earth.
to talk to this guy?
Yeah, you do, because this is an open forum, isn't it?
No. So by that
Yes.
logic, now someone has come along and said, this is actually fake. I'm going to ask them
It's not.
to
That's
demonstrate
called
that
a
it's
burden
fake.
of proof reversal
And I'm going to
fallacy.
ask you how you verified it to be real in the first place. What would you say?
Quack, quack, quack.
The
Can you
footage is the
verify it to be
claim.
real?
I mean, that's why Creation Bear is acknowledging this is a burden of proof reversal fallacy. You don't want to take up the burden of giving sound argumentation in defense of what you affirm to be true, because you're irritated that someone is not satisfied with just this supposed footage.
Yeah, you'd have
You have doubts about the supposed footage.
What's the big deal if the Earth is if people think it's round or flat? Like,
Well,
what's the
let's
implication of
not
this
let's
whole-
not just divert away that fast.
No, you guys are about to argue for the next 30 minutes about bullshit.
Yeah,
Okay, then
This, to be
type
fair,
yourself
we've
on
spoken to
mute.
this guy
We
for a
can
little
continue
while.
with
We
someone
can
else.
maybe the guy that we're speaking to has been spoken to for a while today. So if there's other new people in who want to ask questions, we should give them a chance.
Fine. I don't want to interrupt. You guys go ahead. My bad.
They're not
This
interrupting.
is talking.
I've heard this a million times, dude. You're not interrupting.
I just don't
Yeah.
understand what the implication is. Like, okay, like
Okay.
You wouldn't.
even if the Earth is flat, who cares?
Let him
Like,
finish.
You seem to care. I mean, you're here, so I mean.
interested. I
Hold
think
on.
I have my own opinions on
But
it, but I
it's a
want to insult
construction.
anybody.
It's a
But
construction of your
Wait, just let
worldview,
him
isn't
finish
it?
the sentence first.
I know what he said. But sure, fair enough. Finish it.
no, I was pretty much done. Just like, what's
Yeah.
the big deal?
Yeah. I get it. They're constructing a worldview for you. Yeah. They're defining what you stand on, what the place that you stand on is in, how it got here. How do you think the Earth got here?
Well, they explain electricity, and that's the reason we're on Discord communicating with each other. So you kind of got to believe in some of it, right?
Right,
No.
things that maybe that you can test, observe, quantify, and prove for yourself, sure, but you're not proving to yourself the shape of the Earth or how the Earth
Yeah, but
got
someone
here.
could sell me a set of tools and be lying to me. So
Yeah, exactly. So
They
you need
sold
to be
you-
discerning. So
so
you
I
need to
can't
figure
really
out-
test anything myself by that theory.
They sold you on a
Well,
story.
you being so hasty to reply back before he finishes any answer to you is not indicative that you really consider the answer given to you.
Yeah, I'm giving you a bit of context and things to think about. I mean,
Fair
you're
enough.
asking why would these people lie to us about where we live, what we're on, what our place is? I mean, they've essentially given you a religion right? A creation story. They tell you that everything exploded out of nothing, right? The Big Bang, you've heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Big Bang creates balls, but if Earth isn't a ball, then there's no Big Bang. Yeah?
Hey, so the story about the flying tin can around the Earth is going at about 17,500 miles per hour. Not only that, but it's in a decaying orbit around the Earth for about 20 years. There's a lot of grand claim that stuck to that idea. So there's much more to actually say, hey, that's such a grand claim. How is anybody able to prove that? And somebody just says, well, science, duh. And that's it. That's the end of it. And apparently, it seems like we don't get much more than that in here. There's no mileage on that. So we were asking the question to get people to engage with their critical thinking. How is it possible that they're saying these allegations that this thing is doing something, and I have no way to provide any verification that it's doing that? None.
Okay. But also, just
I
to
struggle.
finish this point, sorry, just quickly. To the guy who was asking the question, have you heard the phrase "knowledge is power"?
Sure.
Do you agree with that?
Generally.
So, would you agree that the people who are telling us our situation, what we're supposed to be in, if they were telling us something that wasn't true, they would have superior knowledge to us?
With that line of thinking, yes.
Okay, so people who are looking for power might try to convince you of something that isn't true in order to have power over you.
What power
Right.
are they getting by telling me the world's around?
Well,
You're
just the
asking what
environment.
power do people get from lying? Why do people lie?
It's such an
Control, manipulation, money.
I think what you're
If they tell you,
saying is it's a bigger stepstone. If they get me to agree to a minor thing like this, and then they can control me from there. But
well, yeah, they can tell you that meteors
well, I
are
mean,
coming to hit
they
you.
could. I mean, yeah, they can tell you anything about that space, and you would believe it 100%. They could come out and tell you, like they have already, that they have found somewhat of a life on Mars and life on this planet, and you will immediately, without doubting it a single tiny bit, you'll be like, "Oh my god, that's so cool! Wow!"
can I be honest
So
with
though,
you? I feel like everyone that believes this thing has a fundamental distrust of other people, and I
Oh,
have
that's
distrust of
not.
other people. But I
That's
think this is
not-
this is such a small
We don't
thing
need your
compared to.
psychoanalysis. That's okay.
I feel like
To
that's a
be
cop
honest
out,
with
though.
you.
That's a
Yeah,
cop out.
let's let Bambi continue. Just I'm trying to keep it on point.
I mean,
yeah,
Perhaps
the whole
consider
point
my
is they
answer.
could literally tell you anything, and you will believe it without questioning it, and you have done it already. You will have done it.
No, I think
You'll think, "Oh, that
I
black
think that's
hole
you
thing was super
ascribing
fucking
things to
cool."
me and not asking me a single question about things that I care more about than this. That
Okay,
I
I'm
think are
sorry. So tell me, if they were to turn around and say that they've found our life on another planet like they already have, or what about the black hole? What's your opinion on all of that? Do you just immediately believe it, or does part of you actually doubt it? Think about it for a second.
Of course
I mean, both.
Both. So whenever they do tell you something, your automatic reaction has been like, "Oh, wait a minute, is that true? Did that happen?"
I just
I mean,
I
yeah,
don't get
kinda.
it.
Well, let me complete this
You're
answer.
basically
Consider
saying
this.
you don't believe in video evidence.
No, that's not what we're
No, because
saying.
I can go
Never
into
heard
the
anyone say
okay.
that.
So just to shut down the video evidence part. Okay, just to shut down the video evidence, I'm from Scotland, and we have this thing called a haggis, and it's this cute little fuzzy animal that roams about the mountains, and we kill it once a year and we eat it for our brunch supper. That's fucking bullshit. But if you go onto YouTube right now and you Google haggis, there will be little tiny videos of these tiny little creatures because it's a myth. It's a Scottish legend. And a lot of the rest of the world actually think that it might be true.
I thought
But I can show you a
consider
video
this
of it.
answer. Consider this. Since you asked about it, now I hope you demonstrate that you really want to critically consider the answer. Because the reason that this matters is that cosmology is a profound area of knowledge. And the truth about the cosmos has profound implications about its origin, its history, its purpose, its value, its destiny, including what is possible including concerning life, including concerning how we ought to live. And so people believe cosmic paradigm A, and they at least believe that it implies this particular worldview, a theory of reality, a metaphysic, a theory of knowledge and epistemology, etc., all the basic subcategories of philosophy. Now, philosophy is unjustifiably derogated and neglected by many because upon examination, when you question them just for a couple minutes, they do not know what it actually is. But philosophy is the endeavor to answer the questions that concern every area of knowledge. Right? And philosophy includes metaphysics, which includes the concern of cosmology. So that's the profound implications of cosmology, right? So as it concerns cosmology and as it concerns the institutions which are responsible for teaching about cosmology. Who is that talking?
Sorry, Timbo, you're hot micing. Please continue, Greg.
Okay. As it concerns cosmology and the institutions responsible for teaching about them, if it is the case that the doctrine that they're teaching is not just containing this or that particular falsehood, but that it is fundamentally and radically contrary to what the cosmos truly is, then that at least, at best, implies a gross degree of incompetency in spite of their best efforts for the past several centuries, or worse, it implies a gross and atrocious conspiracy headed by those who are most knowledgeable and most powerful economically and politically, indicating that they have severely wicked intentions that are contrary to the well-being of the public whom they exercise jurisdiction and governance over. That's why it matters.
Well said, man. Here.
Yeah, well said. So do you understand, guy who asked the question? Did that answer someone?
He left a while ago before you gave that explanation, unfortunately.
It was still worth it.
They're bad faith.
Also, just quickly, and I got to go in like 5 minutes, but I'm not convinced with that shifting of burden of proof thing. Like, I don't know that. So I've seen evidence for some of these clips being like wires or green screens, and they're not terribly compelling. Like, that's to me seems to be trying to prove a position that a positive statement that's been posited.
No, basically, bro.
Well, that's a subjective premise, not a specific objective premise in the critique.
Yeah, I'd say the NASA stuff doesn't look very compelling, and also the burden of proof is on the person claiming this footage shows men on the moon to prove that. It's not on us to disprove your video that you can't prove.
Correct. In the same way,
Agree to disagree.
Well, I don't think it's a really agree to disagree type of thing. Like, think of it like this way. Well, it's fine. Let me just give you an example. Like, you know, if I'm your neighbor and I claim I won the lottery, you say, well, I'm not sure if that's true. Who has the positive claim here? Who has the burden of proof? You or me?
In that case?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he made the statement, so he would. But that's
right.
not
I would. Yeah.
True.
The point of it is whoever makes the claim in the first place. So as soon as you claim something, you have the burden of proof no matter what it is. You're making a claim. It is on you to prove it. So if you're claiming a video...
This video is false.
That's not the claim, right? That's you in my example. That's you saying, yeah, I don't believe that you won the lottery. That's not now a new claim where you now hold the burden of proof and it relinquishes me of my positive claim. It doesn't really work that way. It's even the same in like a court setting. If I'm the plaintiff and I charge you with, say, fraud, I have the burden of proof to show that those charges hold up.
So what standard?
I can't reverse the burden on you and say, no, you have to disprove what I'm saying.
Right.
That's not how it works. So
I understand that.
In this example, if they're claiming that they've got these men in this place. Well, that's the claim. That's claiming you won the lottery. So you have to show that. Us saying that's not true isn't now a new claim.
Okay.
So I just want to help you understand that.
I get it. So in a court of law, there's different standards to which we prove things, right? So
But I think it's a good setting. I think it's a pretty solid standard. I mean, like another good example is like
standard. What I'm saying is there's
Oh,
beyond a
I
reasonable
don't
doubt.
know.
There's preponderance of evidence. There's what's the other one in civil cases? Maybe that is
Right,
the
but you know what there isn't though is fallacious reasoning. You can't go to a judge and say a lot of the things that people say here. Oh well, Your Honor, my client is just stupid, or Your Honor, they just don't believe. Like those types of things wouldn't fly. So,
All right, but sticking
and
to
also,
the
also one
before we
thing
move on,
is just
sticking to the specific. In a court of law, someone says we have video footage of this guy going into the bank and robbing it, and the other lawyer says, "Oh no, that's fake." Now, who has to prove what in a court of law?
well, if you are the positive, if you're the plaintiff, you have the burden. If you're